Hare Krishna. Thank you very much for coming today. I'm delighted to be here to speak to their lordships. And, so all of you have been given a copy of a book. Many of you may have been given. If you don't have it, your neighbor probably has a book. Nobody has. Some of. So when we read this and it is book Prayers Inspired by the Bhagavad Gita. I'm also displaying it over here. Do we have a second mic by any chance? I request some of you to read certain things if it is possible during the course of the book. So basically, the Bhagavad Gita is the book that I have connected with the most in our sacred canon. And the Gita's verses are not just sources of wisdom for me. Many of them are like personal friends. And just as if you have a friend, you want to know more and more about your friend. So like that, I always like to learn more and more about the Gita's verses. And one way we get to know a friend is by meeting them in different contexts. How are they at work? How are they at home? How are they on a relaxed outing? How are they under high pressure situations? So, I have written over 4,000 articles in the Bhagavad Gita's verses, gita.com. And the last 6 months or so, I felt that this was all becoming very analytical. I wanted to have a little more devotional aspect to it. I came across Kuleshekar Maharaj's prayer in the Mukundmala Stotra. Of course, I already memorized it all, but I found that this particular reading, I felt it was almost like a prayer which is a response to a verse from the Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavad Gita 12.7 says, Krishna is declaring, Deshaham samudharta mrityu samsara sagarat. Krishna says, I will lift you out of the ocean of material existence. And Kuleshekar Maharaj is praying, Samsara sagaram magnamananta dinam uddharatum arasi hare purushottamosmi. In this vast ocean of material existence, I'm drowning. Krishna, please lift me out of this. So, what is a promise from Krishna? Kuleshekar Maharaj is making it into a prayer. So that inspired me to approach the Gita's verses in the form of prayers. So in this book there are 122 prayers. So today we'll discuss based on one prayer. So in each of these prayers there is one picture of a deity of Krishna. And there is a one-line prayer which is like a summary, which can also be like a devotional affirmation. Then there is a verse of the Gita. And then I have translated the Gita's verse in a poetic form to get more of a feel of the devotional and emotional connect with the verse. And then there is a prayer offered based on that verse. So today I will be talking about the broad topic of spiritual optimism. It goes beyond material optimism and pessimism. So let's begin. So you can repeat after me. We'll start with the prayer. With you, my Lord, there are no dead ends. So let us recite the verse. If you're comfortable, you can follow. So please be here. Nachaita vidma kataranno gariyo. Yatva jayema yadivano jayemu. Yameva hatva najijivishamas. Te avastita pramukhe bhartarashtraha. This is Bhagavad Gita 2.6. We do not know which fate is best, to win or fall in this cruel test. Those whom we wish not to slay stand armed against us in this fatal fray. This Arjuna is here pouring out his heart, expressing his predicament about the situation that he finds himself in. And he is longing for a solution. So, we often skip over the first chapter and even the second chapter start with saying Sita Dehe or some of those verses. Arjuna's angst is what makes the Bhagavad Gita's context so human and so relatable. And Arjuna has come here to a dead end. I don't know what to do. Whichever path I take ahead, I feel it's only darkness and doom over there. Sometimes you have a good choice and a bad choice. Sometimes you have a bad choice and a worse choice. And sometimes we have a bad choice and a bad choice and we don't know which is worse. And that is actually the worst situation. Because there is no good choice. And it's only bad choice, but among them also, which is the less bad choice? That's the situation Arjuna finds himself in. So let's read some of the paragraphs again. Who would like to read? Have the mic ready. Yes, please. It needs to be or else you could read aloud.
My dear Lord, when I find myself at the dead end, let me remember that my vision is limited, but your wisdom knows no bounds. No problem is too big for you to solve, even when I am so small and cannot even conceive the solution, let alone implement one.
One of the key beginnings of spiritual life, or especially about turning toward Krishna, is the understanding that our vision is a finite vision. And a finite vision is not the final vision. Everything I speak today will be centered on this one sentence or one equation. But finite vision is not a final vision. You could say, this is at one level the essence of humanity. This is what makes us become open toward Krishna, toward higher wisdom. So now, it's finite vision is not false vision. It is valuable vision, it is correct vision, but it is not the complete vision. So the finite vision it may be correct. It's not that always it's correct. Sometimes it is incorrect also. But it is, even when it's correct, it's not complete. So now it's often correct, but it's often not complete. So the way I talk about this particular situation is, we all here have heard of optimism, pessimism. There's a glass of water. See there's not that is half empty. See it as half full. One of my friends has attended a lot of motivational talks. He says that if I hear this example, the only question comes: is there enough water in the glass to throw? You have heard it so many times. That doesn't make it a lesser truth, but it sometimes just becomes tiresome. So I had approached this topic not from the perspective of pop psychology. Look at positive things. I talk from a little bit more of a philosophical approach to psychology. So our emotions and how our emotions give rise to our conceptions, or rather, how our conceptions give rise to emotions. So both ways. So psychology can mean many things, but psychology is often associated with our emotions. So emotions can mean we feel positive about certain things, or we feel negative about certain things. But psychology is often a function of philosophy. And philosophy determines our conceptions. Now, generally speaking, philosophy is a topic of very widespread interest. Whenever people meet in a party, the first thing they ask each other is, what is your philosophy? Do they do that? No, you don't do that. But while philosophy itself can seem to be a very abstract or irrelevant subject for many people, At a basic level, philosophy, it means that feel is love, so force is truth. So philosophy is love of truth. Now in the Vedic scripture it's called Tattva Darshan. So perception of truth. So it is what is true. Now generally whatever is true, that is what we value. So our philosophy is basically many things, but it is basically our framework, our framework of values. So our framework of values. So if somebody is materialistic, that's they have a materialistic philosophy. What does that mean? That for them matter is all that matters. So matter is all that matters is materialistic philosophy. So for somebody is very much into say impersonals. What happens is the impersonal reality is the most important thing. That is all that matters. The philosophy is about ultimately what matters for us. And what matters determines how much it affects our emotions. Say, if you don't care for baseball at all, then if say the college we are a part of or the region we are a part of, that team loses a baseball match, will not be affected at all. But somebody who is very much invested in that, it matters a lot for them, they'll be very much affected by it. So basically, now I'll talk about optimism, pessimism, and spiritual optimism. So in terms of this philosophical worldview, one extreme is pessimism, another extreme is optimism. Now, in between is spiritual optimism, which actually goes beyond pessimism and optimism. So, what is optimism from the material perspective? That something which is of artha. The word artha is just a word in Hindi or in Sanskrit. अर्थ के अनेक अर्थ हैं. अर्थ के अनेक अर्थों में अर्थ का एक अर्थ है अर्थ. So what it means is that the word artha, one of the meanings of artha is meaning. So artha, if you consider, let's look at this word. Artha, one meaning is simply meaning. So for example, in the word to word translation, you have Shabdartha. So what is the meaning of this word? The meaning of artha is value. So, for example, now value can refer to many things. One source of value is, of course, equal to wealth. So, in India, for example, Artha Mantri, that means the finance minister. So now, another meaning of the word artha is also purpose. So there are 4 purusharthas. What are the 4 purusharthas? Dharma, artha, kama, moksha. So the idea there are now we all have different purposes for our life. So there are different artha for us. So now why am I talking about artha over here? That when we go through life, sometimes when we feel this person is very pessimistic, we always look at how things are going to go wrong or things have gone wrong. And some people they are so pessimistic that even their depression demands overtime from them. How much can you be depressed? They're chronically depressed. So pessimism can go too far, where it just goes into a very dark stage of a person becomes depressed, chronically depressed, and a person cannot function at all. Now, optimism can also go too far, where it becomes utopianism. Where a person just does not lives in their own imaginary world. They're not even looking at what is real, what is actually happening in life. So now, I'll give a little context of why I'm discussing this. That recently I was talking about one devotee. He is in Canada, and he's telling me that there are some devotees in Canada who come from Ukraine, in a prolonged war, and the country has been largely devastated. Now India and Pakistan seem to be on the verge of war. You know how much devastation it will cause. Sometimes popular culture war is glamorized. Movies and other kind of superheroes. The war in life is not glamorized. It's hell. Of course, sometimes one has to go through that hell to prevent a far worse hell. But it's war is terrible. So anyway, this particular devotee was telling me that he was talking with a Ukrainian devotee, and this devotee from Ukraine, their whole family is devastated. But now, their home, they had their home, their business was devastated, their home is ruined. Fortunately, all the family members they survived, and they came to they were relieved from Ukraine, and they were given refugee status in Canada, and they settled there, and now they build a life slowly. And they got some support from the government, and they're slowly building their life. There are others who have gone to different countries, and not everyone has received the same kind of support. That's understandable. Every country has its own challenges. In America, immigration and legal immigration right now is becoming a huge political issue. So, now the thing is, so this devotee, he was telling me that he was talking with the Ukrainian devotee. Now, I have had a similar experience when I was in UK last year. I was talking with devotees. He said that if we were in a terrible situation, we could have died in Ukraine. Now we come and settle your relatively safer life. That so should we be positive? Okay, things are good. So I'm very grateful and very happy. Not very happy, of course, life is rude, but I'm grateful and happy that things are better here. And they've reduced security and they've settled and they've got students' education. So this devotee was telling me that one devotee was preaching to this devotee, this Ukrainian devotee. Krishna already gave you a realization this world is dukkhalaya. Remember that. Don't become lulled into a false sense of happiness. Remember that everything is. I remember once I was in Pune and I used to look after the media department over there, the public relations. So there was one newspaper journalist, and he used to come to the temple. I was trying to cultivate him. So once he called me on phone. That time we didn't have mobile. So he called me at the outstation. He called me and said, "It's very upset. I'm never going to come to the temple." My mother was being sick for my mother passed away. So sorry to hear about it. I offered her condolences and I prayers for her. So he said, I came to the temple, I want to meet you. And you were not there, so I met some other devotee. I told him this. And he told me, if your mother has died, you know, this is the nature of the world. Your mother has died, tomorrow your father will die. Day after tomorrow, your wife will die. After that, your sister will die. After that, your brother will die. Everybody is going to die. No relationship for you. The only shelter is such. My thought at that time was, we really, the only shelter we need is from such devotees. So now, afterwards I talked to this devotee, and he said that, actually, I was teaching him. And he interestingly gave me have their own way of interpreting philosophy. He said that just as Narada Muni's mother asked him, Narada Muni saw that Narada, small boy, he saw it as what? As an opportunity to detach from the world and become dedicated to the service of the Lord. I told him, what do you expect? You expect him to give up his home and go to the Himalayas? He said, no, we should follow Shastra. I gave a quote to Prabhupada. Prabhupada said, if you preach and you're back to your preaching, people go away. What is the use of your preaching? So, my point is that sometimes if we misunderstand or misapply, we become inordinately pessimist. If it is good, if our health is good, if our financial situation is good, if our relationships are a reasonably okay state, then should we be happy about it? What do you think?
Should be grateful.
Should be grateful. So should not be happy but grateful.
Happy and grateful.
Happy and grateful. Okay. So, how many of you think we should not be happy when things are good? Okay, one. How many of you think we should be unhappy when things are good? Okay. We should be happy when things are good. Yes. So, how many of you think we should not be unhappy when things are bad? Is that possible? It's difficult, isn't it? See, we will be affected. It's naturally we would like to have. In the Washington DC, I'll give you similar class. One boy said that when good things happen, we will be happy, and when bad things happen, we can be detached. I said, no. It sounds like a good idea. The only problem is it's psychologically impossible. It's like if you look forward to some food item and you get that maybe you're expecting a particular delicacy and you look forward to it and eat it and enjoy it. And if we enjoy food very much and the food is terrible, to the extent we enjoy food when it is good, to the extent when it is terrible, we will be upset. To the extent, say, somebody delights when India wins a cricket match. To the extent when India loses a cricket match, they will become detached. They will say, I become detached, but they will not become detached, they become frustrated. And there's a big difference between detachment or renunciation and frustration. So, what is the difference between, say, renunciation and frustration? So, renunciation is basically like fasting. Renunciation is fasting, frustration is starving. So now what does it mean? What is the difference? Fasting is voluntary. Okay, I'm interested. Frustration is I want it but I don't have it. So basically, when things go wrong, if we are very, very eager for things to go right, we won't become detached or renounced. We become frustrated. So it's like what the difference is that if you consider two things, there is ability to get something and there is the desire. So when fasting is there, we have the ability to get food, but we don't have the desire to get food. When we are frustrated, we have a big desire, but we don't have the ability. So it's a huge difference. And that's why these are not at all the same thing. Is it that we are looking for situations themselves, they don't make us detached. We can choose to become detached, but that requires a conscious process. So the point is, devotees, we do know at one level this world is dukkha, this world is temporary. Now, but still, within the temporary world, sometimes good things happen. Now, when good things happen, should we not be happy about it? But if we are happy when good things happen, then will we not be unhappy when bad things happen? Now, for example, the Gita says that when good things happen, don't become irritable. When bad things happen, don't become rejected. Na praharishet priyam prapte, don't vijayet prapte chati. There are many verses like this. So now it's interesting, Krishna is not saying be blind. Blind means you don't even see that this is a good thing and this is a bad thing. Krishna is telling, yes, there are good things and there are bad things. But don't let your emotions carry you. Don't let your emotions sweep you. So I said, a finite vision is not the final vision. So, where am I going with all this? Our topic was optimism and pessimism. So I'll be talking about broadly three things. I use this framework quite often. It's one of my favorite ways to understand all that. It's an acronym called ACT. So first what we are doing is analysis. So we are trying to analyze right now the nature of the world. So there will be good things, there will be bad things. Kabhi khushi, kabhi gam. So now what happens, what Krishna is telling is, when there is happiness, don't go way up. And when there is distress, don't go way down. So it is not that you don't feel happiness and don't feel distress. Then don't get carried away by it. Don't let those emotions dominate. So our perception, some things are good, some things are bad. And when good things are there, we can be grateful, we can be happy. But don't let that blind us to the reality. That okay, that this thing is there, it's not the ultimate reality. Bad things also happen. This is not the ultimate reality. This will come, this will go. So let's look at this analysis a bit more. Who would like to write the next paragraph? Yes, please.
When life brings me to a place where I see no path ahead at all, or when every path I see leads only to a far worse situation, I find myself utterly unable to avoid distress.
It's a very undistressing voice that is speaking about distress. Thank you. So, what happens is that we all have, when we say something is good or something is bad, what does it mean? That we have our conception of what is artha, what is important. If somebody's conception of artha is, oh, cricket is very important. India wins a cricket match, oh, this is wonderful. If India loses a cricket match, this is dreadful. So basically, optimism and pessimism from this perspective is that when we become pessimistic, extreme pessimism is where there is no artha in anything. Nothing has any value, nothing has any meaning in life. This is a very dark situation to be. When we feel that, okay, this thing didn't work out, that thing didn't work out, that thing didn't work out. This thing worked out, but it was disappointing. That thing worked out, but it was unfulfilling. And then somebody starts thinking that there is no artha in life at all. That is a very, very dark place to be. This is where people sink into depression, sometimes people become suicidal. So, this is where there is no point in it. That there's an existential atheist philosopher, he said, existence is suffering. Albert Camus. Existence is suffering. The more you try to relieve the suffering, the more it increases suffering. You see, this is actually Bhagavatam philosophy. Dukkha patati dukkha. But no. His conclusion therefore was, therefore the only philosophical question worth asking is whether to commit suicide today or tomorrow. This is just a conclusion. Where a person feels there is no artha at all. Now, on the other hand, when there is optimism, optimism can also go very far. When what happens is, when we think that whatever is artha, we equate that with paramartha. Paramartha is that which is of supreme. So, because I'm in a healthy situation, life is wonderful. Because I'm wealthy, life is wonderful. Because I'm popular and respected, life is wonderful. Yeah, these are good things. But if we start thinking that this is the paramartha for our life, this is the most important thing in our life, And if I achieve this, life will be successful. Then that kind of optimism is a problem. In fact, if you consider the word anartha, anartha can have two meanings. No artha. That is also an anartha. When one person feels that there is nothing of any value at all. See, there's nothing of any value. This is often the result of tamoguna. In tamas, the person starts to think, what is the point of doing anything at all? Some people, they can get into such chronic depression. They feel as if getting out of their bed is like climbing Mount Everest. What is the point of it? So sometimes we say we should give up desires. But actually giving up desires is a very dangerous thing. If you have too much desires related with Atma only, if you talk about desire management, if you have too many desires or if you have too little desires, we all have to manage our desires. That's one of the key things in life. Now, if there is too much desire, that is what we often talk about. This leads to infatuation, this leads to attachment, this leads to one kind of anartha. For example, lust is too much desire for sexual pleasure. Greed is too much desire for wealth. Anger is too much desire for control. So too much desire is a problem. But on the other hand, if there is too little desire, that leads to depression. When a person has no desire to do anything, then that can be a big problem. So in between these two is desire that is selected. It is not that we reject desires, not that we give in to desire, but we select desires. It is selected and then it is directed. So essentially, if you want to explain bhakti in a secular or a very universal way, this is in one sense a succinct understanding of what is bhakti. Bhakti is selection and the direction of desires. We select. So what is it? Anukulena Krishnan Kilanam Bhakti. So Anya Vilashita Shunyam, Anya Vilashita Shunyam. Okay, we are selecting desires. What are the kind of desires we are selecting? Jnana Karmavi Anavritam. We are giving up the desires that are not connected with Krishna. So you call it Jnana Karma. So Anya Vilashita Shunyam is selection of desires. And then Anukulena Krishnanu Sheelanam. Sheelanam is cultivation, it is development. So it is selection of desires and then direction of desires towards Krishna. So in the Mahabharata, there is one very interesting incident of how the pendulum can go from left to right all the way. Now Duryodhana, right from his childhood, was extremely envious of the Pandavas. And he tried again and again to try to destroy them. And somehow the Pandavas emerged stronger. He tried to poison Bhima and Bhima came back stronger. He tried to burn the Pandavas alive and they won the hand of Draupadi and they came back as much more powerful group. They came as princes with very powerful relatives. He sent them to Khandava, the forest, and they went in the forest, which was far. It became more popular and prosperous than Hastinapur also. And that was something which he just could not bear. So, what happened for him was, let's say, if you have New York and New Jersey, and New York will be very proud of it. We are the most important city in the world. And New Jersey is a state nearby. And some of the best people from New York go to New Jersey and start settling on it. And people start, why are all these people going away? So for Duryodhana he thought, I had taken everything away from the Pandavas. And now my own people are leaving me and going to the Pandavas. He just could not get it. And he decided that I've got to destroy them. And then he used the gambling match. And this was one scheme that was spectacularly successful. But even he had not expected that Yudhishthira will gamble him. That Yudhishthira will gamble himself. That Yudhishthira will gamble Draupadi. And that's why the idea of disrobing Draupadi, that came not from Shakuni, that came from Karna. Because what happened was, among Duryodhana's friends, there was a tension between Shakuni and Karna. That Karna was always telling Duryodhana, why do you use all these devious means? Just challenge the Pandavas for a fight and we will win. I'll defeat Arjuna and you defeat Bhima and you can get the whole kingdom. And Shakuni would say, you are just a child. You don't know the ways of diplomacy. So, Duryodhana needed Karna, but Duryodhana respected Shakuni much. He went along with Shakuni. And when Shakuni's plan was so successful, the Pandavas lost everything. Then Karna felt the need that Shakuni has done so much for Duryodhana, I also have to do something for him. I have to prove my friendship. And that's why he suggested we drag Draupadi over and disown it. Now, unfortunately, in the history of the world, there will always be predatory men who want to violate women. But here, so for example, if there is sexual violence, it's sometimes thought of as a crime of lust. But actually, it's much more a crime of ego and power. Because somebody simply had lust, they could just go to a prostitute. Why do they need to force themselves on someone and violate that person against their will? So it is that I have power to control and dominate you. And I can do with you whatever you want. So when the Kauravas had Draupadi disrobed, attempted to have her disrobed, it was not so much to lust as it was to power and ego. They wanted to humiliate the Pandavas. And so, this was not a part of Shakuni's plan originally. Although Shakuni went along with it, because there was, you saw, to some extent, Shakuni also recognized that this may be going too far. But he couldn't stop because Duryodhana was so happy. Duryodhana's joy was in making the Pandavas miserable. See, Shakuni was sinister. Shakuni was cunning. But Shakuni was not stupid. So he understood. Shakuni was one person who chastised Duryodhana when Duryodhana came back with one Aksham Narayan Sena and did not have Krishna. But Shakuni recognized Krishna is a strategist. Having Krishna on our side would have been great. So anyway, when this whole thing happened, so in one sense, Duryodhana's plan was successful beyond his dreams. He succeeded in getting the entire kingdom of the Pandavas and he succeeded in publicly humiliating the Pandavas. So what else could he want? All his desires are fulfilled. So all his desires were fulfilled. And yet, he did not feel fulfilled. So here what we're discussing. So if you consider in terms of optimism. Optimism means what? We all have our conception of Artha. When we have a particular conception of Artha, this is what I want. So for him, for Duryodhana, Artha was not just gaining money. It was, he already had a lot of wealth. It was not just gaining more money than the Pandavas. For him, his Artha was gaining the Pandavas' money. So it was a very specific conception. This is what will make me happy. See, what happens is we all are driven by our definitions of happiness. We all have a definition. Okay, this works out, this happened, I will be happy. But one of the things that we rarely do is question our definition of happiness. Now, when we speak it this way, he didn't just want money, he didn't just want more money, because his artha was what? He wanted the Pandavas' money. Now, you say money is money, you can use money to enjoy, but what would getting the Pandavas' money give? So, he was driven by a particular conception, a particular definition of happiness. It requires a lot of courage to question our definition of happiness. We only question the people who don't help us fulfill our definition of happiness. But we don't question our definition of happiness. So his dream was fulfilled beyond his expectation. That he had succeeded defrauding the Pandavas and humiliating the Pandavas. So the two things, he wanted more power, more wealth than them, and more power than them. He had got both. And yet he found it was not enough. And so he went to the forest. He said, I will go there with all my wealth. He went there with all his wealth, and what did he do over there? He wanted to parade his wealth. And he paraded his wealth before the Pandavas. So his idea was that he wanted to see, he wanted the Pandavas to see how happy he is. And by seeing how happy he is, the Pandavas will become unhappy. And by seeing how unhappy the Pandavas have become, by seeing how happy he is, then he will actually become happy. So in India there was long ago a TV brand called Onida. You know, it had a slogan. Anyone know the slogan? Owners?
Owners and neighbors' pride.
Owners' pride, neighbors' benefit. Like you give anarthas to both people. So it's not just that having this will make you happy, it's that having it, somebody else is unhappy. And that makes you happy. So now, unfortunately, I don't have time to go to the whole story, but somehow there, the Gandharvas were there and Duryodhana got into a fight with them and the Gandharvas defeated him, arrested him. Now, not only was he arrested, he was not frustrated that he was arrested, he was more frustrated that he was arrested in front of the Pandavas. And then, as if that was not bad enough for him, it was like his worst nightmare came true, and the Pandavas actually came to rescue him. The people whom he came to humiliate, the people whose powerlessness he wanted to enjoy, he found himself powerless in front of those people. And the Pandavas rescued him. And they released him, Yudhishthira released him, and he felt so utterly devastated. At that time, I was arrested. I was humiliated in front of the queens and the ladies of our family. He had brought all of them because he wanted them to see the Pandavas' humiliation. And he said that it is the Pandavas' humiliation. He says, I am such humiliation is unbearable. I cannot live with it. So he said, I am going to fast to death. He said, Dushyasana, you go and become the king. Everyone tried to persuade him, but nobody could persuade him. So what happened over here is that he made a particular thing into artha. The artha is to humiliate the Pandavas. And then when that backfired, he felt that there is no artha in his life. What is the point of even living? Of course, he didn't commit suicide because the Danavas came in a vision and told him that you did it twice. But that vision was a false vision. But the point is that for us, when we are talking about, I said, Nanda is that when we are thinking of optimism or pessimism, we are determining it based on our conception of artha. So we have a particular conception of artha, and if that works out, we say, oh, life is so wonderful. And if that doesn't work out, we say life is so dreadful. And our conception of artha is not wrong. So we started by talking about how finite vision is not finite vision. Finite vision may be correct. Sometimes it will be incorrect also. But the problem is, when we make artha any artha, whatever it is of value, there are many things of value in the world, but when we make artha into paramartha, when we make any artha into paramartha, the result of that is anartha. Now, this is a simple definition of anartha is what? When we make anything which is of value into the supreme value, then it becomes anartha. How does it become anartha? In two ways. If it goes away, if somehow we just can't have it with us, then we feel as if our life itself has no worth. If somebody is a surgeon and they're very good at surgery and their surgical skills become their art, and it's important, it's very important to have that. But suppose they have an accident and they lose their hands, that's terrible. But if that has become their sole identity, then we feel what's the point of living at all? So when we make an artha into paramartha, if it goes away, we feel there is no artha to life. Now the problem is, even if it doesn't go away, it comes to us. That means, okay, this is the artha, I got it, but the problem is, it will not be fulfilled. Duryodhana made artha into the paramartha. I want to get maximum amount of wealth. Even when it comes to us, it still leads to anartha. It's a different kind of anartha. What is the difference? Anartha over here? Here, it is that it leads us to destructive desires. Destructive desire because the desire becomes disproportionate. Disproportionate means we will end up doing anything and everything for getting that thing. That's where a person starts crossing boundaries. Krishna says, Dharma aviruddho bhuteshu kamosmi pradarsha. So a person goes beyond that. So everybody may want respect. That's natural. Everybody wants victory in life. But what are we going to do for it? Suppose we want our child to do well in school. And a child does reasonably well, but he never won the top. One day a child comes and says, Mommy, Daddy, I come first in class. Oh, wonderful, congratulations, how did you do it? He says, I saw you had so much desire that I should come first, and I decided I was going to please you. So I learned computer hacking. I hacked the computer. I got the whole question paper in advance, and I had all the answers ready. I came first. Now, the point is, we want our children to do well, but not in this way. Is it that when we make an artha into the paramartha, then what happens is everything else gets neglected, gets devalued. Work is important. But if a person makes work the most important thing, then they become workaholics. Workaholics means they may ignore health, they may ignore family, they may ignore all other aspects of life. So the fundamental problem is that optimism and pessimism are governed by this idea that there is artha, and if I get it, life is good. If I don't get it, life is terrible. But that vision itself is an incomplete vision. So as I'll talk about the acronym ACT. So A took a lot of time, but I have included A was what? Analysis. After analysis, we need to connect. Connect means after we analyze, we establish a connection. What is the connection over here? That do the things of this world have artha? Like I saw somebody from a war-torn country gets settled in a really peaceful and prosperous country. Is that a good thing? It's definitely a good thing. But the point is that we should be able to connect artha with paramartha. That we should be able to see that this artha has come from whatever is of value in my life, it has come from Krishna. It is a blessing of Krishna in my life. and it is meant to take me to Krishna. So if we have this understanding, then we can value the artha without overvaluing it. Say, if I have good health, I will be grateful that I have good health. If I have financial prosperity, I will be grateful that I have financial prosperity. So I should be able to see that this has come from Krishna and I should use it to take me to this Krishna. So if you can see the connection of artha with Paramartha, that is the key. What happens by this? If we can see the connection of artha with Paramartha, we value artha, but we understand that the Paramartha is very true. There is that beautiful verse, many of you know. Hitam Tvameva, Tvameva Bandhushya Sakha Tvameva, Tvameva Vidhanam Tvameva, Tvameva Sarvam Mama Deva Deva. Here, sometimes the first person will say that you are the mother, you are the father. It's not literal, it's philosophical. What it means is that whatever love we get from our mother, whatever love we get from our father, whatever support, guidance, protection we get from our father, whatever we get from our siblings, whatever we get from our friends, it all is coming from Krishna. It all is coming from Krishna and it all is meant to take us toward Krishna. And if you know that I'm physically handicapped, so once one night I got polio. My mother took me to a polio clinic to get a polio vaccine. Unfortunately, we were in a small town in Maharashtra, and the fridge where the vaccine had been kept had lost its power supply the previous night. And neither the attendant nor the doctor noticed that. So because of that, temperature having got increased, the number of germs in the vaccine increased. And when that vaccine was given to me, instead of preventing polio, it ended up causing polio. So I don't remember any of it. I was just when I was learning to walk, I fell down, I could never walk afterwards. At that time, my first memory of it is that I was 2.5 or 3, and a distant relative had come to our home. And she was consoling my mother, saying, "So sad, your son got polio." And I remember my mother's voice, very calm, clear, confident. She said, "Whatever he lacks physically, God will provide him intellectually." I don't know why she said that. And somehow that stayed with me. Not the God part, the intellectual part stayed first with me. But somehow it stayed with me. And I noticed that actually, by God's grace, I had some good ability intellectually. But the reason I'm telling this story is that my mother enabled me. So for even now when I travel across the world, I meet people. I think I'm invited to the talks at forums at people with special needs assembly. And so many people are filled with resentment. Some of them are remarkably resilient and it's inspiring to see what they have achieved. But many more are filled with resentment. So that I don't have that resentment is to a large extent. It's my mother's blessing. She accepted me. She never made me feel that I was a burden. She never made me feel that my leg was a burden. She guided me positively. So when I was introduced to Bhakti, one of the pastimes I just found it extremely difficult to accept was Chitraketu pastime. Which mother, which father? It's all temporary. It's only many years later when I read the pastime many times afterwards, once it struck me that soul is saying this after the lifetime is over. It is not during the lifetime. That soul has ended its life. After that, okay, now we have to move on. But one of the things which pacified me at that time was when I was reading Dhruva Maharaj pastime. So there, Dhruva's mother tells him that whatever love I have for you, Vishnu has millions of times more love than you. We may have heard this many times, but how this struck me is that Suniti is not denying her love for her son. Now, if her love is zero, then millions of times zero is also zero. Her love is real. But she is saying that Krishna's love Vishnu's love is a much bigger reality. Now sometimes we say her love is like a drop, and Vishnu's love is like an ocean. And for us, even a drop of love feels so much. For us, even a drop of love means so much. So rather than devaluing the drop of love, we can focus on, okay, this drop means so much to me, how much the ocean. So it is not that Tvameva Mata cha Pita Tvameva. It is not that we are, so optimism and pessimism would be, oh, the mother's love is fallen, the father's love is fallen. And this devotee who told this person, your mother is dead, only father is going to die. So it is making this artha into worthless artha. On the other extreme is to see only the mother's love and not to see it as Krishna's love. When a mother offers a breast milk to a baby, that's one of the most intimate acts of love. And it's certainly the mother's love over it. But it's not just the mother's love. The mother did not do anything special to manufacture milk in her breasts at that particular time. The same God who sent a child through her womb into the world also sent milk in her breast for that child. So it is, the mother's love is real, but it's Krishna's love also. So the idea is that the ideal situation is wherever there is artha, we value artha. But we see that the artha is coming from Paramartha and the artha is meant to make me go towards Paramartha. So Dhruva's mother, she says, my love is there, but Vishnu's love is the leads of time. Therefore we go to Vishnu. So we need to be able to connect whatever is of value in our life with the Supreme. So don't just be happy life is comfortable. Be happy that life is comfortable by Krishna's arrangement. See the Krishna connection and try to build a Krishna connection. So the idea is if somebody from a war-torn country has come to a peaceful country, should they always remember life is so miserable, life is dukkha, and whatever is peaceful is all an illusion right now? No, you don't have to think of it that way. What is it? If life is peaceful, let me use this peaceful situation to connect more with Krishna. Let me use the health that I have to maximize my bhakti practice. So whatever is artha, the finite vision is, this is valuable, but the final vision would be, this is the paramartha. The finite vision is not the final vision. And that brings me to the last part, that is transcendence. Now transcendence can mean two things over here. This is what will bring us back to the Gita's context. That for all of us, when we are going through life, we have many things which are artha for us. I'm putting the artha above because we value it, we seek it in life. We may seek a good relationship, we may seek a good reputation, we may seek expertise in some skills, and all those are good things. So the artha is something which we aspire for. And everybody needs something to aspire for. Now, above the artha is the paramartha. So for all of us, there are many arthas and there is the paramartha. So what we do is, we seek an artha, but we also seek Krishna through that artha. That means if I learn to speak, I try to become an expert speaker, but I speak about Krishna, so I can connect with Krishna, I can connect others with Krishna. So whatever is of artha, if we have children, we take care of our children, but you see, Krishna's children are interested in being cared. And that artha, we use it to connect with Paramartha. Now, when we have this vision, then even if we come to a situation where, say, we are here, and whatever artha was there, it goes away from us. Whatever artha goes away from us. Then we can find, so the artha that was here, it goes far away. The artha that was here goes far away. It is no longer available for us. Then we can find some other artha by which we can connect to Krishna. So transcend means transcend at one level our conception of what artha we need to serve Krishna. Okay, I may want to serve Krishna in a particular way, but if that doesn't work, I'll serve Krishna in a different way. And that openness is very, very important. So, let's conclude with the example of Srila Prabhupada to illustrate this from artha to paramartha. The point here is that or 6 months ago, this incident struck me. And since then, it's just something which whenever I remember, I feel inspired. Whenever I think of Prabhupada, I'm amazed. Prabhupada traveled across the world and he inspired over 108 temples. Among all his projects, there was one project that he worked the most for. Which was that? The Jew project. He literally fought a war for that. Not with weapons, but there were physical attacks and devotees defied against that. Prabhupada personally promised Krishna, please come here, stay in this tent and I will build a temple. And if you know the timeline, when was the Juhu temple inaugurated? Does anyone know? 78. Yes, 1978. It was 14 Jan. It was? Now when did Srila Prabhupada depart from the world? So it was 14 November 77. So it's just 2 months. It's 2 lousy, petty months. This was the project that Srila Prabhupada worked his life for. And Prabhupada would have said to Krishna, let me see this temple. And I worked so hard for it. All the Indians worked so hard for it. And when just a few days before Srila Prabhupada departed, at that time, the devotee asked, one of his well-wishers, Indian well-wishers asked, how many you have last desires? And Prabhupada said, Kuch Ichha. Prabhupada's desire for Krishna was greater than even his desire to serve Krishna in a particular way. We all may have our plans to serve Krishna. And it's good to have plans, they will inspire us, they will make us focused and dedicated in our efforts. But Prabhupada, for him, if you consider Srila Prabhupada over here, now in one sense, the artha that he actually wanted to offer to Krishna. The artha that he wanted to offer to Krishna was the Juhu temple. Now we could say it is also Paramartha. It is true, it is also transcendental, but it is a place in the world. Want to offer to Krishna. But when it became clear to him that Krishna was calling him back, that his body was falling apart, there was no resentment in Srila Prabhupada. So what did Prabhupada do? Prabhupada shifted to another artha. What was the artha that Srila Prabhupada offered? At that time, the offer was a lesson of how to depart. A lesson of complete attachment to Krishna from everything else. Attachment from everything else. Srila Prabhupada himself knew at that time. Many of the disciples were young. He knew at that time, many of them would find it difficult to take up this huge responsibility. But Prabhupada did not say this is my mission, this is Krishna's mission. Krishna will take care of it. So Prabhupada, while he was there on the planet, while he was serving Krishna, that artha was extremely important for him. And he fought for it. But he never let his attachment to artha become more than his attachment to Paramartha. His attachment is always to Krishna. So we can have our artha. It may be in our material life, relational life, even our emotional life. It's good to have artha. And we want to offer the artha to Krishna, but if we can't, we don't get attached to the artha and let it blind us to the Paramartha. We see that artha is meant for Paramartha, but this artha is not available, then some other artha is available. Rather than thinking, why is this not working? We ask the question, okay, how can I work for Krishna in this situation? So this transcending, the shifting comes from changing our question. Why is this not working? Now we can ask this question, but sometimes there is just no answers. And something just don't work. So at that time, we change the question to, how can I still work for Krishna? How can I still serve Krishna? So when we have this, we shift our question, and that's how we can stay connected with Paramartha. And this is what Srila Prabhupada has given an example. That's why we can learn from Prabhupada not just the vigor in preaching, but also the vision to always stay dedicated to Krishna more than to anything else in the world. I'll summarize what we discussed today. We discussed about what is spiritual optimism beyond material optimism and material pessimism. So I started by talking broadly. I was talking major part of talking about was A. What is the acronym? Analysis. So analysis is what I talked about the most. So here what I talked about was mainly analysis, three things I mentioned. That now what we think as optimism and pessimism, that's based on our emotions of optimism and pessimism, they come from our conceptions. And our conceptions are basically our conceptions of what is artha for us. So we all have a certain conception of artha, and the conception is correct. So our conception of artha is the finite vision. It is a correct vision, but it may not be the complete vision. Finite vision is not the final vision. So we go to two extremes. One is when we have our conception of artha, then if it works out, then we want more and more and more of it. The problem with conception of artha is it becomes paramartha. And it becomes the paramartha for it. It becomes the most important thing. So if it is not there, then we feel our life has no artha on it. Our life has no meaning. So this is where people get into depression because of the moment. When it is, even if we have it, we find it is not enough. Duryodhana, he had wealth, he wanted more and more wealth. And then what happens is, then there is no boundaries, no sima over it. That is where we go into no dharma over there. We start doing things against dharma for the purpose of connecting, forgetting that somehow or other. So in one sense, not there, this is where we become unhealthy pessimism comes over here. Unhealthy optimism, I will get it in some way or the other. Like this Duryodhana, he celebrated that he got everything, but he did not give anything. So the in between is what we discussed is artha is not paramartha, artha is a tool to paramartha. And that was the next point about connect. So connect means what? We accept the value of artha, but we understand that artha is coming from paramartha. It is coming from, and not just come from, it is meant to take me. It is coming to take me towards paramartha. So we discussed how mother's love. I took an example. Now if it is no reality to it at all, it is all false. None of us is able to survive like that. But if you make it into supreme reality, then if it is lost, we will be totally devastated. It is a reality, but it is also a pointer to Krishna's love for us. It is not the supreme reality. It is a drop that points us towards the ocean. So connect. So it is a drop of Krishna's love. It is real for us, but it is pointing to Krishna's love. And lastly, C was what? Transcend. So transcend means it may happen for us that we have a particular conception of artha by which we connect with Paramartha and we value that artha. But if that goes away, then we are ready to find some other artha by which we can connect with Paramartha. So we transcend our own conception of what is artha and we open ourselves. So rather than why is this not working? Why is it not Prabhupada asked why health not staying good? Just few months till that will come back. Okay, how can I make this work? How can I work for Krishna in this situation? When he asked that question, he was able to give the lesson of how to gracefully depart from the world. And this way, for the devotee, there are no dead ends. Because whatever seems to be a dead end, there is always some other way to keep moving towards Krishna. So let us pray to Krishna that He give us an appreciation for the artha that we have. And Lord, Please help me to appreciate the Artha in my life, but also help me to see that it is you who give Artha to all the Artha in my life. You give value to everything of value. Let me use these things of value to connect with you. And when one thing of value goes away, let me not get lost, my Lord. Let me see how you want me to connect with you and guide me that you remain my Paramartha, my Lord. That there is nothing else which becomes Paramartha. Just repeat this last prayer. Repeat after me. With you, my Lord.
With you, my Lord.
There are no dead ends. Thank you very much. Shri Krishna Bhagavan ki jai. Are there any quick questions or one question? Yes, please.
I want to mention that it was extremely inspiring the way you structured it, very uplifting the heart, but also intellectually stimulating and something to take home. It reminded me of this beautiful verse. The demigod was trying to Krishna in the womb. Ye and ye Arvindaksha Vimukta Manina Stayastha Bhavada Vishuddha. Param Padam, what they think is Param Padam is their artha, they made it Paramartha. But Patanti other, they disregard lotus feet.
Vimukta Manina.
So I thought it's a very good verse that really highlights this point. That people think their artha is parampadam, but actually paramartha is beyond their vision because they disregard lotus feet of Krishna.
Exactly. So, most people will think of material things as the Paramartha. They will think of the impersonal world as the Paramartha. Thank you. Yeah,
To get closer to Krishna is very powerful. So thank you for explaining it in that way.
Thank you. Happy to listen. I try to let us speak a few words. Pracharya Temple is actually the president of the Newtown Temple, and that's one of the most flourishing areas in Kolkata, and it's one of the most it is a huge potential there. It's leading a group of very dedicated IIT and IIT students. He has students here in Boston, and he is trying to expand university outreach here. He's a very close friend of mine. We would like to be surprised to have you here at Capital.
Prabhuji, I think you have to sit there for now.
Please come here, please come.
Yeah. So I'm feeling so fortunate to get to hear him from Chaitanya Charan. Chaitanya Charan, when he speaks, he really makes so many things clear. He explains the things in a very amazing way. Thank you very much for explaining what is optimism, pessimism, and spiritual optimism. As I'm happy to meet Madan Gopal Puri. We are together studying for 1 year in GBC college. So happy to, it was my pleasant, it was pleasant surprise for me to see you. Also, Shani Krishna, who has been, I remember he has given so many temples to so many devotees around the world. And practically wherever we go in India, we find that temple. We have in Calcutta, we have many places. Pune, anywhere we go, we see his temple. So I'm happy to meet him here. I didn't know that I will meet so many wonderful devotees. I also didn't want to tell Chaitanya, I wanted to just come, but somehow you found out how I am coming. So happy to meet you. And Prabhuji was appreciating and telling how we are wonderfully developing the community here. And even today weekday, so many devotees have come for programs, and many devotees are so busy weekdays. By the time they come home, it becomes late night. And only we can find devotees on Sunday. But it's surprising, happy to see that even weekdays, so many of you have taken up time to come. short. And now you are building a beautiful new temple. So wonderful. You have great opportunity to transform your artha into paramartha. Your artha, you can use it for yourself as well as for the benefit of all the New Jersey buses. So, recently when I was in San Jose, I was from devotee, and it was so inspiring to read so many verses. So this is such a hope-giving prayer. With you, my Lord, there are no dead ends. So yes, when you add Krishna in our life, establish Krishna in life, life starts blossoming. And sometimes dead ends will come, then we look towards Krishna. At that time, we may not look towards Krishna. So, yes, when we connect artha to paramartha, one can experience that divine love and affection coming through Lord, and we can feel very blissful. And also when so-called anartha also comes, we can connect so-called anartha also in paramartha. So, artha we connect, whatever is wonderful, it becomes more wonderful. That is beauty of Krishna. Like ornaments don't ornament the Lord. They make ornament more beautiful. God is already beautiful, but by adding ornaments become glorious. So, yes, when you connect to Krishna, that can lead to paramartha. Similarly, anarthas. Sometimes anartha means maybe what we don't expect to happen, but it happens. And so, His Holiness Bhakti Tamav says there are three ways to we receive mercy in our life. The mercy that comes from the front. We are expecting, may this happen in my life. May I get first rank in my class. And we get, that is mercy from front. May I become a billionaire, and I become billionaire. That is mercy from front. Then he says there is another mercy that is called as mercy from the side. You don't expect, but you get it beyond your expectation. You give exam and you are hoping that somehow I can just pass the exam. I don't know that I will fail. There is great chance I may fail, but I am just hoping that I can pass an exam. And you go to see the result, and you see you have topped the university. And you are surprised how it happened, how it happened? You understand, oh, it happened by Krishna mercy. There is no way it can happen. I wrote papers. Similarly, you are doing business and you are hoping that you can just make break even. Somehow I should not make a loss. But then you become billionaire. So that is called as mercy from side. And then there is mercy from back. We just hope this one thing, maybe Krishna, whatever may happen in life, no problem, I will take it. But this one thing should not happen in my life. And then what happens? It happens. So it's a mercy from back. Apparently,
No, I'm agreeing with you.
So apparently it is anartha for us. We never expected, but even that, if we connect to Krishna, that can take us to supreme paramartha. So I want each one of you to think a little bit, just one moment. How many of you ever had such situation in life, anytime in this lifetime, since your birth till now, that something happened which you never expect to happen, and you really felt terrible. You felt miserable, or very devastated. How many of you ever had some experience since your birth till today? Something. Hmm? So all of us, most of us have this experience. So note it down. You don't have to note it down all the experience. One experience, I'm just one little experience. If you think of, if you are able to think of one experience, one situation in your life that was really devastating, you can just maybe mentally think, or maybe write down in a notebook, or maybe in mobile, something. I'm not going to ask you to share that experience anybody, but just for yourself. And if you are able to think one specific incident, don't think of general, okay, probably in my life thousands of such experiences. No, one specific thing. If you are able to remember one specific thing, you can raise hand. And and when that thing happened in your life, how was your experience? You are able to remember how you felt. You don't have to tell me the situation, but I want to hear the feelings and how you felt at that. How you felt when that thing happened to you. Yes.
Very anxious.
You felt fearful, anxious. Thank you, Mother. Anybody else?
Hopeless.
You felt hopeless.
Heartbroken.
You felt heartbroken. Yes. Anybody else?
Lost shelter.
You felt shelterless.
Angry.
Yes. Angry. Yes.
Lost confidence.
Lost confidence. Thank you very much.
Gratitude.
Huh?
Gratitude.
Who- Uh, who's speaking? I don't see. Oh, really? Great. You sang a song so beautiful, huh? Wonderful. So, you feel grateful. You are able to remember some situation
Yeah.
where you are feeling, you felt things went completely mess, completely against your will, and then you felt grateful. What made you feel grateful? What transformed that devastating feeling to feeling of gratitude?
That I still have this. I mean, it's not fully gone. I still have this.
Okay,
It's still showing in this.
okay. So you thought, yes, so many things have been devastating, but still there are not everything is not devastated. Hmm? So, so you could see that okay, many things have been devastated, but still there is some things which are not devastated. So you felt grateful when you looked at those things. Okay, thank you very much. So yes, when things go against our will, we have three things to do. One thing is, as he said, what is your name? Oh, we can say, okay, this thing didn't go wrong. But it's not that everything has gone wrong. Something has gone right. Okay, many things went wrong. Maybe most important things went wrong. But maybe there something didn't go wrong. So think of some things that didn't go wrong that time, which could have also gone wrong. Think of some situations, in same situation, okay, many things went wrong, or most important things went wrong. But what was that didn't go wrong in that situation? As he said, he thought of that and he felt grateful. It's wonderful. Huh? So in that situation, you can think what didn't go wrong or what was still okay in that situation. Think of that situation. And if you are able to think of at least one thing that was still all right, it didn't go wrong, you can raise it. Okay? Everything didn't go wrong, though I felt that everything went wrong. But okay, maybe 99% went wrong. One thing at least was right, Okay, thank you. And now think, what all wonderful things came out of that situation? You think about, okay, something went terribly wrong. But what all wonderful things came out of that situation? Jai Shri Shri Sitaram Laki Jai Shri Shinaji Ki Jai Shri Shri Sitaram Shri No cannot. So you can think, okay, there was a devastating, maybe Krishna in some situation beyond that. Okay, what all wonderful things came out of that situation? Okay, that was the situation. Okay, but did anything wonderful came out of that or because of that? If you are able to think at least one thing, wonderful thing that came out of that situation, raise it. Okay. Mhm. So it was not that everything went wrong, something was right, and it was not that from that thing nothing good came. There were so many wonderful things also came out. Okay? So can all of you stand up? Okay, all of you can stand up. Everybody can stand up. Okay, so you can find one partner, and when you find one partner, sit down. You find one partner and sit down in such a way that you are facing each other. You find one partner and sit down in such a way that you are facing each other. Okay? And when you sit down, if you don't have partner, stand up. Okay? And when you have partner, then you sit down. Okay. Okay. What you can do, you can join groups. Wherever you want, you join. Huh? Okay, that one people is behind. Okay. Haribo, Prabhu, you got a partner. Okay. Great. You got a partner. Okay. Everybody has a partner. I hope that the fact that you are thinking that means you have a partner. So share with the partner what all wonderful things came out of that situation. Okay. So share this thing. Okay, with the partner. Okay. One. Everybody, one meeting. So Hare Krishna, make sure the other partner speaks. Okay. Make sure other partner also speaks. Okay. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Everybody got a chance to share? Okay. So, Mataji, how you are feeling now?
I'm feeling very good because I was sharing with her that I did so many things in my life post that event that I never imagined I could do.
Yes.
So, but at that time, I did not think that was a possibility.
Yeah.
So, I was just sharing that with
Yeah.
you.
So earlier you felt how you felt?
Fearful,
You felt
anxious.
fearful. But after reflecting on what all wonderful things came up in your life from that, how you are feeling?
Content,
Very
happy,
content,
happy.
happy.
But somewhere that is, oh, Krishna, don't bring any more. I don't know right now.
So we see that earlier she was feeling fearful, but just by reflecting on what all wonderful things Krishna arranged, she feeling content and happy. Wonderful. Yes, any yes, very good. Yes, Prabhu, you said what you said? You felt how you felt earlier?
Heartbroken.
Heartbroken. What all wonderful things came up from that situation. How you are feeling now?
After sharing, it feels good. And a lot of good things came out in the sense that I felt I could do so much more than I didn't know I could do. Because of that incident, I was able to actually expand and do a lot more. So
Yes. So how you are feeling now? Heartbroken?
I'm not feeling heartbroken. At that time I was.
No.
Now I'm feeling it is a blessing in disguise.
You are feeling blessed. Yes, feeling blessed by Krishna. Krishna did something beyond your expectation. So at that time it was heartbreaking things. Anybody else who was here who spoke? How you felt earlier?
I feel
Earlier, first time when you remember that incident.
so I was hopeless.
Hopeless, and after telling, sharing what
So
all
as
wonderful
we
things.
shared, it
Mm.
was everything I would say, she would say, me too. And then she would say something, and me too. It was literally the same thing that we experienced, the same experience that in the end brought us to Bhakti and brought us to Krishna.
And after telling this, how you are feeling?
Happy.
You are feeling happy?
Happy and hopeful.
Yes, earlier you were feeling hopeless.
Hopeless.
Now you are feeling hopeful and happy.
Yeah.
Okay. Haribo.
Haribo.
So, apparently there can be some anarthas in life, or some things happen, may not happen as per our wish. Because if Krishna does everything as per our wish, what do you think will happen to us? And if Krishna does everything as per our wish, do you feel we will be happy? So sometimes Krishna does something which may not be as per our wish, but as per his wish. He is the most supreme well-wisher of us. He loves us more. He knows what is good for us. So even if sometimes some things appear to happen as something inauspicious or anartha, but if we are able to remember Krishna, and especially remember how Krishna is my best well-wisher, how Krishna, nothing, not a blade of grass also moves without sanction of Krishna. And if he has arranged this situation in my life, that means this must be good for me. Maybe I am not able to understand how it is good for me right now. But with faith, if I continue, in future I will understand how it is good. And maybe in future, the way I am grateful for my past misfortune, I will be also grateful. Or maybe right now I understand. Maybe let me discuss with devotees, meet devotees, and understand how it is wonderful. So when you connect this things and see Krishna's point of view, and understand Krishna is there, then it can also lead to Paramatma. Okay? Thank you very much. Hare Krishna, 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 Hare Hare, Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. I remember one incident, actually really incident. When I was in college, one time I really got less marks. And I was so devastated. At that time I went to Chaitanya Charan. Chaitanya really consoled me so much and helped me. Since then I have been seeing that Chaitanya has been always very affectionate and merciful. And because of that incident, really I could connect with him and he could connect with me, and I have been a great recipient of his mercy. So I think that situation was a wonderful situation. I could be the recipient of his affection and mercy. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Beautiful exercise. What I often speak theoretically, you all the experience of that. One of my, I have a calendar of 65 quotes this one. Even if you can't be grateful for all situations, you can be grateful in all situations. You can't be grateful for that situation, but it is something apart from that situation good in our life. You can be grateful for that. So, great experience. Thank you so much. Wonderful that you could share that with us. Thank you. So I just have this book, which I already explained. There are 122 prayers in this, and there's a very accessible table of contents. Like I said, the prayer itself is like a spiritual affirmation, and there are prayers which you can have when say you are feeling lonely or misunderstood by others, when we are feeling lost and directionless in life, when we are feeling as if Krishna is very far away, that we are feeling disconnected from Krishna and tasteless in our spiritual life. There are prayers when our cravings are going too high and we feel that we can't just control them. There are prayers when we are trying to serve and there is no result coming. What do we do at that time? So whatever is your emotional or prayer need at a particular time, to find a prayer and read that also. This book is available. This is Gita for the CEO. Nowadays there's a lot of interest in the corporate world to learn principles from ancient texts and use them in daily life. Stoicism has become popular in the West. Ikigai from Japan has become popular. So HarperCollins is one of the biggest publishers in the world. They asked me to write this book on Gita for CEO. So like I was drawing some simple illustrations. There are many diagrams like this to explain the Gita concept. So the book is presented as a conversation between two people. That one person who knows the Gita and the other who wants to know the Gita. Both are corporate leaders. The book is not just for CEOs. It is for anyone in any position of leadership, formal or informal. If any of you also have friends, colleagues, relatives who may not be ready to read or connect with the Gita at present, then you will connect with this book and that will inspire them to read the Gita more thereafter. So both these books are available and I'll be here sometime if you want me to sign the books or answer any further questions. Thank you very much. Great.
Wonderful presentation, kept everyone engaged even this late in the evening. So very, very grateful again to His grace taking time to do. And Acharya Prabhu for coming today and sharing with us. And always every year he comes up with new books which are always so creative and different perspectives. We sold out of the books tonight before he goes. So much for coming. Request, please do take prasad, bring prasad into the temple room area and in the outside spaces before you go home. And let's have 3 loud Haribols for Chaitanya Charan Prabhu and Acharya Ratna Prabhu. Haribol!
This is 10, that's 15, that is 20.
Do you have a pen?
The book table out there.
Oh, you want me to go outside?
Close the temple.
The books are outside, right?
Let's
The book table outside.
What?
I'll come outside.
You'll come outside? Okay.